And welcome back to the Motorgraph World channel. My name is Mari, and today we'll be taking a deeper look into the Hyundai IONIQ 5. Let's look at the designs and, of course, what advantages it has compared to its competitors. I personally, out of the face, profile and the backside, I like the face design the most because it's reminiscent and it pays homage to a former glory of Hyundai Motors, the Pony. You can see a lot of those design aesthetics being played out, especially these lights. I think that these lights are completely new and it's a new innovative design, and I like it because it's just very Tetris-like and it reminds me of like a robot or something, and it's very distinctly shows you that it's an EV and it's not an ICE model. Coming down, you also have the middle bar where you have the charging levels as well as the camera, and it's very clean. If you see from the side, it's almost as if you're just cutting a block of butter, and then it's just very clean and there's no bulges or any other character lines that would hinder the overall design. Now we've popped open the hood. There's a lot more space here in the front trunk, or the frunk as they call it. Before, for the all-wheel drive, it was really shallow and you could only fit maybe, I don't know, 2 t-shirts after they're folded up, but now you have a little bit more room. I have a backpack here that's full of goods, so let's see how well it goes in. It fits in quite comfortably and you still have a little bit more room. You could put in maybe 2 or 3 sneakers in on top of it, and there you go. It looks very long and sleek because it has one of the largest or the longest wheelbases out of all of its flagships, in fact. And so it looks like a hatchback, but in fact, it's almost as big as an SUV. I think that that's a big benefit to the users who want more space inside. And the overall lines on the side, I personally do not like the profile that much because of these character lines, but people who know me will probably know why. And as for the wheels, they use 20-inch wheels. And you also have these camera lenses as the side mirrors. I tried them out while driving over here, and I thought that there would be a little bit of getting used to, but in fact, it was very easy. And the images, of course, it's a clear day out, but the images were very clean and with high resolution. So no big trouble there. So I believe that if you're a driver of an EV, what you will be very curious about is the charging abilities and the infrastructure. So you press and then it opens up. And here you see that you have 2 different outlets for the power vehicle. And so we are here and we're going to be using the slow charger. And voila, it's very easy and it's starting to charge. I think one of the biggest advantages of the IONIQ 5 is that it's very distinct in that it pays homage to an older model. But then again, it's an EV, so it's very futuristic. These lights that they call these pixel graphic lights are all in small squares, which is a very new take that we haven't really seen a lot before in the car industry. And so if you're driving and you see the IONIQ 5, it definitely just catches your eyesight. I've opened up the trunk for you, and at first glance you can see that it's very deep inside. It might not be as tall or high as you want it to be, and the opening part is indeed a little bit high up. So the second row seats are folded. You can see that you have a lot of room inside, and I can sit in comfortably, but then my head hits the ceiling. It's indeed a wide and very deep trunk that you can make use of. However, the ceiling is a bit low. So let's open up the lower compartment and see what you have. It's just a very shallow lower compartment. You have the tire mobility kit as well as the tools. And now I'm inside the driver's seat, and I must say it's very clean, open and you have good line of sight. I think part of the reason why is because this part of the car, the dashboard as well as the digital screen, is in one unified screen. It's not connected and it's not all together, but you still have this panel that connects both the screens, the dashboard as well as the digital screen. Comparing with the EV6 that we just reviewed and saw, that one had a curved display, and I mentioned that it was very much a driver-focused car because the center console was also geared slightly towards the driver. But this one, you can really see that it's a more family-oriented or four-passenger-oriented car. You have the screens for the side mirrors, and I was iffy at first because it was just a new technology that I thought that I might have to get used to when out on the road. But with a lot of the traffic even, it wasn't that difficult to just switch from using the side mirrors to using the side screens inside the vehicle. And it has very good resolution and you'll be able to see what's around you. The steering wheel also has these buttons that look like touch functions. However, these are all analog. You have to press in order to get them to work. The only touch button is for the HVAC and the climate controls. Even with this tilt type rotary for the gear, it just takes a little bit of time getting used to because it's a little bit out of sight and you have to look at what you're doing with the reverse at the back and the drive in the front, and then in parking you have to press a button to do it. And now these seats are the slim type seats that we also saw on the EV6. They're quite comfortable and they have a lot of different features. If you're charging your vehicle and you want to take a nap or you want to just be in rest mode, you can set your settings and then it will go into the relaxation mode and the zero gravity seats in just one touch of a button. So now let's look at a lot of the storage space inside the vehicle. Let's first start off with the center console, which is called the Universal Island. That's because you can move it back and forth about 200 millimeters so that the back seat passengers can make use of it as well. You can open this up and you have a lot of area. They said that it was very big, but it's not that big because it's a bit tall. You might have to squish it in when you're putting it inside. But if it's pliable, then you can put in your bags here. You also have the wireless charger for your phone down below. You also have some luggage space or storage space here. As for the glove box on this model, it's a drawer type, so you pull it out. I think I personally like this drawer type better than the ones that fall down because you can store more things inside it and it's just easier to open and close. And now you have this huge panoramic sunroof for the IONIQ 5. For EV6, you only had maybe half the size, but in the IONIQ 5, it almost feels as if you're in an open car because it's so nice and wide. Also, for the size of the windows, because the EV6 body was much bigger than the top part, you had smaller windows. But for IONIQ 5, because of the proportions, you have wider windows for the back seat as well. Let me just show you how the controls for the seating works. They fold up and then they sit at a 90-degree angle, and if you push it back, this is all it goes. As for the angle of the seats, you have to do it manually, but as for front and back, it's automatic. So you can adjust these with just a touch of a button. There's no center tunnel, so you can sit in the center seat. I have to admit, you don't get that much back support, but still, you have a lot of leg room that you can use. So you have sunshades on both sides. You also have these air vents on the B pillars. You have two different levels for the heated seats for the back seats as well. You can also make use of the V2L system inside the car. So you have a plug-in content here in which you can plug in your household appliances. So when you're on the move, you can use that. And now we're back here at the Hyundai Motor Studio where we can make use of the high charger or the fast charger system. The 350 kilowatt and above are only available on the 800 volt vehicles. So we're going to try the fast charging on the IONIQ 5.
충전구 위치에 따라 커넥터가 자동으로 내려오는 충전기입니다. 주차 방향을 기준으로 차량의 충전구 위치에 따라 커넥터 선택 후 선택 완료 버튼을 눌러주세요. 충전 조건을 설정합니다.
So it's starting the charging. And it already finished. I've never been a fan of EVs because I always like my ICE models. One drawback that I have noticed from the IONIQ 5 is that when you're doing U-turns, because the turning radius is quite large, you do have to go back and forth in some narrow situations. There's also this thing called the I-pedal, or the one-pedal driving. The car continuously recovers energy from that kinetic motion of braking, but this car just does that for you, so you don't even need to step on the brakes. So you have these two paddle shifts on both sides of the steering wheel. What it does, it's at level 1 right now, but if I press the plus sign to level 3, the car actually brakes on its own. It doesn't come to a complete stop, but it puts on the brakes so that during that brake period, it recovers energy. Let's try it one more time with I-pedal. It says I-pedal has been turned on. Then it actually just will come to a complete stop if you don't step on the acceleration pedal. But for me, who's always used both pedals, I keep on mistaking and I keep on trying to step on the brakes. But in fact, it's not necessary. So when we just did a couple of laps inside the city, we drove around 3.1 kilometers, and the overall mileage comes down to 5.1 kilometers per kilowatt hour. So that's not too bad. So there's no engine sound, but there is the sound from the wind and from the tires that come in. But still, it's very much quieter than the ICE models. And the suspension is very soft and smooth too. When we're going on top of speed bumps, you hardly ever notice it. For this IONIQ 5, it feels as if it's very flexible and malleable even. The drivability of the car is great, I think. And if you're using it as a city vehicle, as an urban vehicle, I think that this is probably one of the best choices that you could have. For design, would I pick the IONIQ over some other models? I think I might have to think a little bit more about that. But as for the drivability and usability of the car, I think it's great. So guys, what did you think about our review of the IONIQ 5? After having driven it, I was quite surprised at the drivability, at the interior space, as well as the seat configurations. I think that it will be great for a family car. However, after having seen the Kia EV6 yesterday, I have a lot of hopes for how the EV6 drives as well. On the emotional aspect, I did like the EV6 a little bit better, so do stay tuned for the EV6 update. See you next time.